Hello and welcome. I'm Darren, and today we're going to go through a little discussion about Nvidia and their terrible, useless shit drivers. I'm going to apologise first. My voice might be a little bit funny. I have got some sort of sinus thing going on at the moment, so unfortunately you might hear me sniff, you might not. It is what it is. I've not made any content in a long time. It's not planned. I've been doing a lot of work on the house, and I've also been doing a lot of sim racing, and sim racing content people aren't really that bothered in. So I've just been getting on with it. And in turn, I've not really been watching any content on YouTube for a long time either. So tonight I sat down, I watched a couple of videos, kind of videos of people that I watched a while back. I noticed one which was having a bit of a meltdown over how terrible Nvidia are and how shit their drivers are, so on and so forth. It was a game that I played the other night, so I was quite surprised because it's not an issue that I was having personally myself. So, I mean, the one thing that I will say is, which I always find a little bit funny, for the AMD Nvidia tribalism, fanboyism, whatever you want to call it. When someone says, I find way more hassle for Nvidia online, when Nvidia have something like 96% of the market, that is going to happen. Because that's a lot more people with a lot more PCs with various different brands of different parts, and God knows how their PCs are stuck together, and God knows how good they are or how knowledgeable they are on whatever they do on their PC. The wealth gap between how many Nvidia GPUs there are on the market versus AMD is so significant. You're almost surprised if you see AMD complaining online because they are that small a minority compared to Nvidia. So yes, you will always see more problems with Nvidia when you look through online forums because they are something. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm sure it's over 90% market share now. So, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but I'm not going to say Nvidia don't have problems. I'm not going to say AMD don't have problems. I don't know why, but my Nvidia build has just been solid as a rock. I personally am having more problems with AMD. I'm not having a lot of problems with AMD. I just have problems with Le Mans Ultimate, which crashes at least 6 times a night if I'm lucky. I could, if it bothered me that much, swap over and use my Nvidia system. It doesn't actually bother me that much. I deal with it because I don't have the problem during the race. It's when the race ends and the screens load to different screens, it will crash. I live with it. I don't go to YouTube bitching and whining about it. I live with it. It's fine. It is what it is. If it bothered me that much, I'd just replace it. But anyway, there we go. So I saw a video saying that the newest Nvidia driver was crashing Assassin's Creed. Oh, not crashing, or destroying performance, I believe it was, in Assassin's Creed Shadows. And I thought, well, that's funny, because I loaded it up the other day, and I don't think that I changed the settings. So I thought, well, I'm going to check it out, because it just so happened that I was on my AMD system at the time, which I hadn't used in a long time. The one that's, not the one on my sim rig, the one that is on my desk, so the 9070 XT. So I thought, hey, I'm going to load it up, and I'm going to check it out. So first of all, let's go to the actual benchmarks themselves. So I've run it at 4K. So I'm not saying that there's not a problem. There's not a problem with what I'm playing at, with the settings that I'm playing at, with the newest AMD driver and the newest Nvidia driver. So I am playing at 4K. I'm playing with everything cranked and with quality upscaling, which is exactly what this benchmark is. So you can see there's nothing between them. I've got a 4080 and I have a 9070 XT, and they are pretty much the same as each other. Now, what I will say is my 4080 is paired with a 13700K, and my 9070 XT is paired with a 7800 X3D. So I don't know in this game. Now I know at 4K, they're normally very close to each other. 4K doesn't normally hurt performance too much, depending on what CPU you're using, but it can do. There are a few outliers. There are a few games when you're going to get a couple of FPS. So if we go to something like Elden Ring, maybe, I don't know, I haven't actually checked this first. So that's at 64. Where's the 13700K at? Oh my word, down there. So there's only like 1 FPS in it. Spider-Man, what are we here? 120, so nearly 128. 120. So there you go. There's a couple of FPS in it. Say like 2 or 3 FPS. And then there was like 1 outlier in here, which I did notice because it was right at the top, which was something like Baldur's Gate. That had like a big difference. So 130 or 131.5, and then 13700K is 121. So there's like 10 FPS difference there at 4K because of the CPU, which is massive. So it would be likely that if there was a performance to be had by one of these systems, the 9070 XT is paired with the 7800 X3D, and that's always going to be the fastest CPU compared to the 13700K. In a lot of them it doesn't matter, which is why I'm still running the 13700K, because you can see in a lot of games, even like this Alan Wake, so what are we, 75.2 and then 75.9. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to go and buy a whole new motherboard and a new CPU and spend nearly £1,000 when I'm playing at 4K. For something like this, 10 FPS, then if it was like that on every game, you could maybe say, I'm saying that even then, I'm not spending that much money for 10 FPS, but it would be more worth it. But anyway. So let's go back to the benchmarks, 4K. And yeah, like I said, 970 XT, RTX4080, they're around 50 FPS. I'm not getting 50 FPS, but I'm not far off it. I'm screen capturing. So when you run an internal screen capture, you can lose anywhere between a couple of FPS to 6, maybe even 8 FPS, depending on what the game is. In fact, I think I've run a game when RT is on, sometimes you use a lot more than that. I've got a feeling in something like Cyberpunk, I noticed I was using at least, or losing at least 10 FPS. So bear that in mind as well. Let's check it out. Let's have a look. So this is running on the 9070 XT. I can tell because the 7800 X3D runs at this, and my 9070 XT runs a little bit hotter, and it runs at 3200, 3250. It is, I've done the voltage on it, so it's had a bit of a voltage tune on it, just to keep it cooler, because it is in a SFF chassis. So you can see it's running at pretty much, I said, the benchmark, say 50 FPS. I think there's a couple of times here where it drops as low as like 41 maybe, or something like that. It might dip into the 30s here and there. I'm not in the same place on these runs because somewhere I wasn't taking notice. So when I did this video, I wasn't taking notice of where I was. When I started up the video after, I wasn't taking notice of where I was. So you could see it kind of like dropped to 40 there. But like I said, it's somewhere there or there between. Within these runs, it's pretty much between 40 and 50 FPS. As you can see there, I'm running at 4K. I'm not using any type of VSync or anything like that. FSR is set to quality. Frame generation is off, and the motion blur and stuff is off. We've got ray traced as high as it can go, and we're running everything on the highest settings available, which are a mixture between high and ultra high and very high. It's a shame they don't all have the same preset, but it is what it is. I did check through some of them just to make sure. But yeah, you can see for the most part, it is somewhere between 40 and 50 FPS. Like I said, we'll run a screen capture. So without that, it would probably be going more between 45 and 55. So you could see where they'd get the average of 50 FPS from. It kind of makes sense. Whether there's more demanding areas or not, I don't know. Now, is this... I should have paid attention to where we were. So this is now on the Nvidia system. You can tell that by the megahertz. Runs a lot cooler on my Nvidia system, and the 13700K is set to 5.5, which shows us 5.428. I don't know why that is. But yeah, you can see obviously the 4080 uses a bit less power, and it doesn't clock as high, so it clocks at 2800 megahertz. But you can see here, so very similar performance. It'll drop down to 40. It might drop down a little bit lower depending on where I'm going. I don't know. It might have, because I am screen capturing. And then it's obviously kind of 50, 52, 53, whatever it is. So again, this is running with the same settings. I'll go through them quickly. I'm pretty sure on this video I click through them at the end just to show you. But yeah, I don't know. When this finishes, I'll quick show you. I'm using I made sure. Now, when I turned on my AMD system, like I said, I was using it last night. It was the first time I've used it in ages, or the 9070 XT system, should I say. I turned it on last night, and that needed well, I didn't need, but it told me that there was a driver update. So that was on the newest driver update. And then after I saw the video, I came over to the Nvidia system and I double checked to make sure. Now, this was on the newest driver. I'd already done it the other day. I don't really take much notice when I do it. If ever I see something come up saying it needs a new driver, I'll just do it. So again, I believe I'm about to get into the options, not knowing what I'm doing because I'm on a controller and I never play games on controller. But anyway, so you can see here we are at 4K. We're not using any type of VSync or any type of capping. We are at DLSS at quality. Motion blur and all that crap is off. We're using the highest ray tracing settings, and everything is on the ultra high, high, or very high settings, which is whatever it is that it allows us, and all those things. I've checked through them just to make sure before I started the game. There would be no reason for me to lie or pretend it was any different than what it was. So just go into, just to double check that I am using, as far as I'm aware, the newest driver. So the option it's giving me is to reinstall. So I'm on the 58.1.42, which was released on Tuesday. I've been playing what was I playing? I can't remember. I've been playing a couple of games on this throughout the week. I did notice this driver came up the other day, so I thought I'd do it. I noticed it was Battlefield 6, and I'm getting ready to play Battlefield 6, so I thought, yeah, I'll download that just to make sure. I mean, to be fair, I played the beta, and the beta ran fine, so I don't know what they would have done for game release. I don't know. But anyway, that's about it. There's no point me dragging it out much longer. I don't know what problems people have. Now, I know I mentioned it a few times in comments a long time ago when I was more on YouTube and more active on YouTube, that there is something when you download the app that you have to make sure that you click off. It's automatically on. And I believe it's this: automatically optimize newly added games and apps. So that will obviously adjust your game settings in the, so if we come into here, it will adjust the game settings in here. So you can see I've got at the moment, these are my values and these are the recommended values. Now, I don't know what happens if this starts playing around with your settings because you've asked it to optimize your settings and yours don't match. I don't know. I mean, obviously mine don't match here as it is at the moment, but I don't know if it sets you to this and then you mess around with something in the game or whatever. I don't know if that causes a problem. I've never wanted this to choose my settings for me, so I never had that on. And when you first download the Nvidia app, I noticed that where's that gone now? I noticed that is always automatically on. So when I downloaded the Nvidia app for the first time, and when I've downloaded it onto new builds I've done, I've always marked it off just to make sure that it didn't mess around with game settings that I didn't want it to do. Because when a game starts, I always want to go into the game itself and set the settings how I want it. I don't want this app being in control of my settings. So I don't know if that's a problem that people are having. No idea. All I know is that as far as it goes, my performance on both of those GPUs on the newest drivers is what it should be. Obviously, this is saying average of 50. If I wasn't screen capturing on that, both of those I'm sure would average around about 50 FPS. And obviously, like I said, my 4080 is paired with 13700K. So this is, by the time this game released on Tech Power Up, they're probably pairing all of these GPUs with a 9800X3D. So there's a good chance that my 9070 XT is probably closer to this performance. The 4080 might be a little bit off because it's with a 13700K rather than what I'm going to assume would be a 9800X3D that they're pairing for their benchmarks on this website. So I'll leave it there. Let me know in the comments if you watch it. I don't think this video is going to make it out into any algorithms at all, so I'll be surprised if it gets even like 10 watches. But if you're having this problem, let me know. Now, like I said, the video that I was watching it was on 4090, so I don't know why it would be whatever it was doing for 4090. I would have thought if it was a problem with the 40 series, it would be all of the 40 series. I would have... daughter's phone. I would have thought, yeah, if it was for the 40 series, it would be for all of the 40 series. I would have thought it was 50 series, it would be for all the 50 series. I don't know, but I'm on the newest app. I'm on the latest app, latest driver. It's not changed my performance whatsoever. My performance has stayed the same as what it was before. So there we go. I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll catch you in the next one.